In today's class, we will talk about temporal fossae in reptiles and their evolutionary significance. So, in order to study the temporal fossae, we need to study the skull first. So, let me take you through the various types of skulls present in the reptiles. The first is the anapsid skull. The next one is the eurapsid skull, parapsid skull, synapsid, and diapsid. Thus, there are 5 types of skulls. And in all these, you will notice the word apse, paraps, synapse, anaps. So, what does this apse mean? Apse means a hole or a fenestra or a vacuity. And if the vacuity or the hole happens to be in the hind end of the skull, in the temporal region, it is called as a temporal fossa. Now let me take you through the bones. Now this is a typical skull, reptilian skull. And this reptilian skull has bones in specific rows. Now this row, the topmost row, has 3 bones: nasal, frontal and parietal. And the middle row has lacrimal, preorbital, supraorbital, postorbital and squamosal. Thus there are 5 bones here. And premaxilla, maxilla, jugal and quadratojugal are present in the lowermost row. Apart from that orbit and nasal cavity are present in all the bones. But if you look at this carefully, do you find any fenestra in this particular region, temporal region? No. That's why we call this as an anapsid skull, and this is a characteristic feature of the most of the extinct reptiles, stem reptiles, that is, which have given rise to the modern day reptiles like Semuria, as well as, and only in 2 living forms, that is the tortoise and the turtles, you find you find this kind of anapsid skull. Now, the other types of skulls are the following. Look at this skull, which is the parapsid skull. In case of the parapsid skull, you do have the regular openings, that is the orbit for the eye and the nasal opening. Apart from that, you can see this yellow structure. This is the fenestra or the fossa, and it is present towards the upper side of the skull, that is towards the roof of the skull. So therefore it is called as a supratemporal fossa, and it is flanked by 2 bones, that is one is postfrontal and the other is supratemporal. So these 2 bones are the extra bones in case of the parapsid skull. And parapsid skull was found in Ichthyosaurus, that is an aquatic reptile. In case of Euryapsida, you find that there is one temporal fossa, and that is a supratemporal fossa because it is more close towards the roof, and it is flanked by the parietal bone, postorbital bone, squamosal bone, but no extra bones are present. And this used to be found in Plesiosaurus, which is an aquatic reptile, which was an aquatic reptile. But this form, both Eurapsid as well as parapsid forms, are extinct. And the next we have the synapsid skull. Synapsid skull, you find a single fossa, which is infra temporal fossa because it is present towards the base of the skull, and this kind of skull is surrounded by postorbital, jugal, quadratojugal and squamosal bones, and it has given rise to the present day mammals, and it also was used to be found in Cygnognathus, which was a mammal-like reptile. Now the next one is a diapsid skull, to which most of the present day reptiles belong to. And this is also referred to as a bird struck because all the birds have arisen from the diapsid skull. So the features are presence of 2 fenestrae or the fossae. One is supra and the other is infratemporal fossa. Supra is flanked by parietal, postorbital and squamosal bones, and infra is flanked by jugal, quadratojugal, squamosal and postorbital bones. Now this diapsid skull is found in all the animals like crocodiles, sphenodon, etc. But certain modifications have taken place in the lizards. So in lizards, you find that some of the bones become reduced, and as a result, the supratemporal fossa becomes larger. And in case of the snakes, most of these bones, 2 or more bones, may be lost from the temporal region. As a result, the whole area is devoid of bones, and a very large cavity is formed in the temporal region, and because of which the snakes have a very big gape, or they can open their mouths widely, because to this cavity the muscles of the jaws are attached. Now, what is the significance of this kind of vacuities? Now, first of all, we need to understand that wherever you do not find any kind of temporal fossa, there the skulls are very heavy. The skulls are heavy. If the skulls are heavy, it means that the animal is not very active, or it can't move very fast, because it has to carry the burden of the skulls. And second is, wherever you find the fenestrae, the fenestrae help in the attachment of the jaw muscles. So to these open spaces, the jaw muscles are attached. So if the fenestrae are big, as in case of snakes, we find, as I told you, some of the bones disappear. So for that reason, the whole the diapsid skull has a very wide space in case of snakes. So in that and because of that, you find that the jaw is capable of moving very widely, or the snake is capable of catching a big prey. So and another thing is, when the animals, the skulls become lighter, the animals also become more active, and thus they are able to move fast away from their predators. So in today's class, we have briefly discussed about the various types of skulls, and we have understood what the evolutionary significance is, and we have understood how these skulls are located in the different animals, and what are the different types of skulls, what are the different types of the different types of skulls, and the different types of bones which go into the skulls, and the kinds of animals in which they are found.